Alrighty, so first of all, I do apologize the fact that these review of the Decision Day game is a little bit late. I was very busy yesterday, so that's why I wasn't able to do the review. But nevertheless, today we are going to do both the Eastern Conference and Western Conference Decision Day, and I'm going to split the video into two parts because one, obviously doing an entire review of looking at all 15 game on Decision Day, that's just way too long. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think it's better if I split it into two-part, first looking at the Eastern Conference and then looking at the Western Conference game. But yeah, Decision Day once again deliver. There were definitely some drama in terms of some of the games that we've seen, and that we're gonna start off by first talk about the Eastern Conference, where yeah, there was definitely some interesting drama when it comes to teams that is trying to avoid to make it into the playing round. But we obviously will have to start then none other than the one and only wooden spoon derby between Atlanta versus DC United. Because as I mentioned many times before, I've always mentioned the wooden spoon derby between the two of the worst team in the league. But this is pinnacle in terms of the wooden spoon derby, where the loser of the game pretty much win the wooden spoon. If this game does end a draw, DC of course win the wooden spoon. And in this game, it did end in a draw between Atlanta and DC United, and it didn't feel like DC was really thinking about avoiding the wooden spoon because Atlanta actually pushed hard to try to get the win in this one. But yeah, in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw, and it started with Atlanta actually getting the 1-0 lead just 3 minutes in, as Almiron would score to make it 1-0 in favor of Atlanta. There were definitely some early goals, at least in the Eastern Conference. In fact, it was like 5 goals that was scored inside the first 15 minutes of Decision Day. So yeah, if you feel like there was gonna be maybe some feeling out period in Decision Day, nope. It seems like some of these games they were already fast action, and the Almiron goal is also the first shot of the game, and it was an absolute banger there from Miguel Almiron. Just kind of shows you what he can, of course, do. Obviously, it's been a very disappointing season for him, as it is kind of the case for most of these Atlanta United players. Speaking of disappointment, Latte Lav looked for another, but as I said, he's been pretty snake smitten for this season. He hits it set wide, and then he missed wide from close in the ninth minute. Atlanta definitely determined not to win the wooden spoon. They were pushing hard to try to get another. Shroud with DC's first shot, but he hits it right to Guzan before Almiron looked like he got his second goal of the game. Problem was the flag did not agree with him, so the goal was disallowed for offside. Guzan then denied Benteke, but then he spilled this one and almost it triggered into the back of the net. And honestly, I feel like that would have been a very sad way for Guzan to go out in terms of the way that you can clearly see that he was very rusty in this game, and obviously this is officially his final game in his professional career. It kind of sucks the fact that in his illustrious career that this is kind of the game that finishes his career. But again, that's partially because of the fact that Atlanta has had a disastrous season, and yeah, again, that would have definitely been a sad way to get to finish out your final game of allowing just an absolute howler of a goal that is. But it's kind of understandable considering again Guzan hasn't played for this team for a while now. It's been Jaden Hebert that's been the starting goalkeeper for this Atlanta team, and he's probably going to be the starting goalkeeper for this team in the future as well. Now we go to the second half, and in the second half, Clark would puts a wide from long range before Hernandez flashed a wide from long range. Both of these teams were exchanging some chances early. Clark would then hit it right to Guzan before Guzan denied Benteke from close in the 66th minute as DC started to get some momentum. And they got the equalizer as Priani would score the equalizer in this one. Yeah, Guzan kind of got flat-footed there, though. I think that was just kind of one of those moments where even if Guzan didn't get flat-footed, I don't know if he would have got a hand toward that one. But nevertheless, the game was tied up at one apiece. Alzade did look to respond, but he puts it wide on the volley, and then Favre denied Lobjanidze from the free kick in the 83rd minute. Atlanta definitely was pressing to try to get the lead back. Again, this is a team that not only try to avoid to win the wooden spoon, but they're definitely trying to finish the season on a high. Lobjanidze then had a shot that was clear off the line by McNulton, and yeah, you know how this season I talked about how Latte Laugh has been kind of snake bin. Forget about that. The real player that I think might be snake bitten this season is Saba Lobjanidze. I don't think he has scored a goal so far this season, if I'm not mistaken. That's just how things have gone completely 180 for him. He had such an incredible first year for Atlanta, but yeah, talk a definition of a sophomore slump. I mean, this was kind of sad to see. TRA would then hits it right to far before Almiron would hits it right to far in the first man of stoppage time. Atlanta continued to put wave after wave of pressure, trying to get the win and finish strong in the season, but they don't get it. As in the end, it ends 1-1 in this one. Well, they don't get it, but the good news is they avoid not winning the spoon in this one. As DC, of course, congratulations in terms of winning the Anthony Precourt Memorial Wooden Spoon this year with the draw in this one. The shots in this one, 10 shots compared to 14 that Atlanta has, 7 shots on goal compared to 4 that DC had, 1 shots off target compared to 4 that Atlanta has, 3 shots on block compared to 5 that DC had, and possession wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that Atlanta has in this game. And despite the fact that Atlanta did avoid winning the wooden spoon, it didn't really save the fate of Ronnie Delia, who of course was unceremoniously fired a day later after this game. And I think we all knew that this was going to happen. I actually was thinking about making a video about this, as I usually do with head coaches that being fired. But I feel like this is one that we kind of saw coming from a mile away. This probably should have happened in the middle of the season, consider how things were going for Ronnie Delia and his side. That yeah, it was pretty clear that he was going to be let go of this team. Although what's kind of interesting, as I'll talk about in this game, to this day, we still have not heard the announcement of Caleb Porter being fired as the New England Revolution head coach. So yeah, again, that just kind of shows you the fact that whatever Caleb Porter is doing with New England and whatever praise that he's been getting from the front office, I mean, he's getting a huge leadway compared to the fact that, again, for Ronnie Dillon, it was really a dead man walking for the last couple of games, and nothing I think would have really changed that. I feel like they probably should have just fired him in the middle of the season instead of just waiting to the end of the year, because it just feels like it's kind of a drag. It kind of felt like it's a dead on conclusion that he was going to be fired. But hey, I guess Atlanta decided to do an NFL style kind of play where, you know how in the NFL you usually fire a head coach after a bad season on what is called Black Monday. Feels like this is kind of the MLS version of Black Monday, with Ronnie Delia getting fired on that day, a day after Atlanta, of course, did win the wooden spoon, but that also means they've finished with the second worst record in MLS this season. That being said, moving on in the next match is Miami and Nashville. So what's kind of interesting is that this is going to be a matchup we're going to see in the first round. And throughout this review, and I'll do the same thing with the Western Conference, I'll talk about some of the matchup that we'll see in the first round. And there is definitely some spicy matchup in the first round in the especially in the East. And this is one of them. Nashville and Miami will play against each other once again. There's going to be at least 2 more games of this. And I got to say, if there's going to be 2 more games of this, bring it on. I mean, this feels like it's entertainment stuff. And what's kind of interesting, if you didn't watch this game, you would have not expected the fact that Nashville was actually the better team in the first half. In fact, I feel like this game was really a tale of two halves. Nashville actually dominated the first half. And despite the fact that they did have the lead heading into the first half, they absolutely would be regretting the fact that they didn't score more goals in the first half. And this feels like it's kind of a tale old as time. The fact that when you don't take advantage of, against Miami, yeah, this of course will happen. Miami will eventually wake up, and they have the difference maker. And they have that Argentine goal called Lionel Messi that can change things up, and definitely are gunning to make history once again of becoming the first back-to-back league MVP in MLS history. Now, in the first half, Zimmerman would head it wide from close before Surridge would head it right to Rios Novos. Nashville definitely started well and looked to try to get the opener. Again, this is a kind of a thing we'll start seeing more with MLS team when they face against Miami. They're not afraid in terms of getting possession against Miami. We've seen before early this season and even throughout the season where it feels like teams maybe respect Miami a little bit too much by having them getting the ball, and that's kind of played right into the style. And we see some teams that say, no, we're going to actually get at you. We're going to be more positive from the get-go. And this is also not surprising because that's kind of the style that BJ Callahan have done this season for Nashville. Mule would then head it right to Rios Novos. The shots were 4-0 for Nashville. But again, it's still 0-0. I mean, this is a tale as old as time. When you don't take your chances, is that going to come back to on Nashville? Rios Novos then denied Taxev on the cross shot before Surridge puts it over from close. That is also one that Surridge would want to have back. This was a very uncharacteristically poor game from both Surridge and Mukhtar as well. I mean, I know Surridge did score a goal in this one eventually, but yeah, I mean, you gotta say that they probably should have scored more than just the 2 goals that they had in this one with all the chances. Nashville definitely, as I said, should be 2-0 up. These missed chances, I thought it was gonna haunt them big time. Mukhtar then missed a sitter following that up in the third minute, and I couldn't help myself by saying, is Nashville purposely losing this one? Because honestly, these chances that both Mukhtar and Surridge, you see them make those 10 out of 10 time throughout the season. But yet in this one, I mean, it's just bizarre to see them miss chances. And as I said, when you miss chances, it's gonna come back to haunt you. Guess what happened in the 34th minute? The goal himself would score. So Messi would score from Alba to make it 1-0 in favor of Miami. That was also Miami's first shot as well. Now normally when a team score against the run of plays, that's kind of shocking. Not for Miami. I kind of had a feeling this was coming with the way that Nashville being so wasteful in front of goal that it only takes one chances. If you give Miami one chances, especially you give the magician one chances, he's gonna bury, and there it is. So 1-0 in favor of Miami. Surridge did look to respond, but he hits it right to Rios Novo off the deflection. I will give Nashville credit the fact that that goal they conceded, it didn't rattle them. They continue to push to try to get that equalizer, though they look like they conceded another one in the 40th minute when Alande puts it into the back of the net, but luckily Alande was in an offside position, so the goal didn't count it, and it was huge because just 2 minutes later, Sam Surridge finally buries it. So yeah, we talk about how when you're giving chances to or if you're going to not take away chances. Miami eventually will find it. But if you're Miami, I mean, if you keep giving chances to Nashville, especially prime opportunity, even if they're not finishing, they're gonna finish it eventually. And there it is, Surge scoring from Mukhtar to tie the game up at one apiece. And then the post with the nine Segovia from close range. So yeah, talk about or no, the post with the nine Messi. There with an outstretched leg. I don't know how in the world did Messi was able to get that one to hit the post. I mean, that was an impossible angle, but nevertheless, Miami almost took the lead. But instead, as we were close to heading halftime, it would be Nashville that takes the lead as Jacob Schaffelberg would give Nashville a 2-1 lead there. Mukta actually originally hits this one off the post, but Schaffelberg was in the right place, right time, and just like that, Nashville has the 2-1 lead heading into the second half. A deserved 2-1 lead that is, but again, you just kind of had a sense that with all the missed chances that Nashville has, could have easily been 3 or 4-1 up at halftime. That's going to come back to haunt them, and especially with the adjustment that Miami made. Miami definitely made a good adjustment in this one. It's not very often you see Javier Mascherano does a good job in terms of making an adjustment. I will give him credit the fact that he's definitely gone better as the season goes along. He was very criticized in terms of in his first half of the season how he has set up the team, but I think he's getting much better as the season goes along. And credit to him, he definitely changed things in the second half because in the second half it was pretty much a complete opposite. It was Miami now that were dominating the possession, and Nashville again. You just don't want to do this where you just kind of sit back. I mean, I know they have good transitional moment, but you just don't want to give Miami all the possession and have them dictate the play like what we saw in the second half. Alande would then miss a tap in from close range. There was no doubt Miami were on the front foot in this one. They were pressing to try to get the equalizer. Now Suarez would then puts it high from close range before Willis denied Rodriguez from close in the 53rd minute. Miami definitely come out with more pressure in this one. Continue to press to get the equalizer. They had a chance to do so in the 63rd minute as the penalty was given there. Perez actually handballed this one in the box. Almost said Pereira there. There's no Pereira that plays for Nashville, but Perez handballed this one. So here comes Messi, a chance to bury the penalty. And of course he does because he's the GOAT. So that ties the game at two apiece. And then not long after, it would be 3-2 in favor of Miami as Baldassar Rodriguez would score from yeah, actually he scored unassisted there in this one. Willis actually did make the save in this one, but again, Rodriguez kind of did the same thing that Schaffelberg did, right place in the right time, and just like that, in a blink of an eye, Miami retakes the lead. It's 3-2. Messi then looked for his hattie, but it was deflected wide. It's been all Miami up to this point. The script has completely flipped. You can clearly see the adjustment that Marciano made has clearly worked out. And again, for BJ Callahan for this national side, not only you'll be very frustrated in terms of the chances that you miss in the first half, but they just didn't make the right adjustment and didn't have the right right tactics ending in the second half of just sitting deep and at times almost kind of hoping that they can survive the pressure. Well, that being said, it almost was free if it wasn't for Rios Novo absolutely robbing Surge on a looping header. Martial is going to have a tough decision in this postseason, whether if he goes with Rios Novo or Ustari. I would say he's got to go with the hot hand Rios Novos. I mean, he's been sensational, which is something I definitely didn't see this coming, especially with the way that he was not great when he started in his career with Miami, and the fact that it's hard to believe he was still in the USL just 1 years ago. But man, he has really got been catching on fire, and it's really kind of solved the issue that Miami has in goal because Ustari has not been great in the before he went down with an injury. DePaul did look to finish it, but he puts it wide. But in the 81st minute, the goat himself would finish, and he would score a hat trick because, of course, that is the case. I mean, I know that there's going to be a continued debate of who's going to be winning an MVP. I think it's got to be Messi. I mean, no disrespect to Anders Cards and also Evander. What Messi has done this season is just simply incredible. And here he did it again. He scored from Frey to make it 4-2 in favor of Miami. Willis then denied Suarez from close as Miami was just kind of having fun. And then, for good measure, in the first minute stoppage time, Segovia would make it 5-2 for Messi and Frey to really kind of capped off of just an incredible turnaround for Miami in this one. The shots in this one, 18 shots for the 14 that Nashville had, 7 shots on goal for the 9 that Miami has, 5 shots off target for the 3 that Nashville has, 3 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Miami has, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to the 42% possession that Miami or Nashville has in this game. Now, obviously, I don't think this resort is going to really be a big indication of what we'll see in the best of 3 series. There's no doubt that I think BJ Callahan probably learned something from this game, and I think the biggest thing he learned is you got to put away your chances when you're facing against Nashville, or facing against Miami, that is, and also just you cannot not just sit deep and hope that the league can hold on because there's just way too many difference maker on this Miami team to just kind of sit on the lead. But either way, what a heck of a best of 3 series we're in for. And it's also kind of a shame the fact that these two are two teams that I definitely can see them making a deep run in the playoffs and definitely winning MLS Cup as well. And it's a shame that one of them is going to go out as well. So yeah, either way, should be a very entertaining best of 3 series, and probably you could argue maybe the most entertaining best of 3 series that we're going to see this postseason. Now, moving on in terms of the next match. So one team that I don't think is going to make a deep run in the playoffs is Orlando City. It is falling apart for the Lions. I mean, I've said this before for the past couple of weeks for Oscar Pereira's side. This has been the complete opposite of what we saw last season and the season prior, where the last 2 seasons they usually caught themselves in a hot streak heading into the playoffs. This season has been the complete opposite. I mean, they are just falling apart, and in this game against Toronto to lose like this, I mean, boy, I'm just kind of getting to a point where I don't blame Orlando City fan not only have no hope heading into the playoffs, but there have been some Orlando City fans that's maybe even asking for Pereira heads to go before the playoffs begin. Now, in the first half, just 8 minutes into this game, Jonathan Osorio would score from Cifuentes to make it 1-0 in favor of TFC. So always great to see the longtime captain, Mr. TFC himself, scoring the goal here, and also seeing Cifuentes back on the assist chart. That's something we haven't seen since his LAFC day. But in the 13th minute, Kerr did look for another, but he had said why. Toronto definitely started well. Orlando have not started on time. They didn't realize that, yeah, they can't just back their way into the playoffs. They got to still at least showed up in this one. Larea would then puts it wide from close range. The shots were 4-1 for Toronto early in this one. If you watch this game and you don't know exactly where in the each of these teams in the standings, and I tell you one of these teams are going to make the playoffs, you would have not guessed that Orlando City was that team. You would have thought Toronto was the team that made it to the playoffs, and we're in good form. Though in the 16th minute, Pasalic then curls it wide before he pulls it wide from long range. Orlando finally woke up and realized that, yeah, we gotta eventually show up in this game and at least get some momentum, trying to press to get the equalizer. There was a huge shout for a penalty as Maguire thought that he was brought down by Rosted, but the referee says play on. Johnson would then deny Ojeda, but then it was Psycho, and it falls to Pasalic again, but he was also denied by Sean Johnson, who, again, just had another incredible game. There's a reason why I've said that he was the MVP of this team, really gone back to his NYCFC day this season. It's just been unrelentless pressure from Orlando, but just like the Cincinnati game when they had a lot of chances, not putting away, is that going to come back to haunt them? Johnson then denied Pasalic from close. The shots were now 10-4 for Orlando City, so it really kind of changed where they got off to a slow start, but ever since when they finally got their first shot in this game, or their second shot, that is, they've been letting the shot 6-0 since they got their second shot in the 16th minute. Rekalo would then head it wide from the corner, but then the 34th minute, Toronto would get the second goal as Mihailovic would score to make it 2-0 in favor of Toronto, just completely against the run of play. An absolute gut punch for this Orlando City side because all the pressure that they put and looked like they were gonna get the equalizer, and next thing you know, boom, Toronto got that second goal, and it just absolutely killed Orlando momentum. Like that they just didn't put any pressure for the remaining of the first half. In fact, Osorio had a chance to make it 3-0, but he puts it over from the front post, and I even said momentum was back with Toronto. That second goal absolutely killed Orlando City momentum, and we head to halftime with TFC leading 2-0. It didn't take long to make it 3-0 as Mihailovic would score again as he scored from Corbranu to make it 3-0. This feels like it's maybe a snapshot of what we see next season. The fact that we know Mihailovic has a lot of talent, and I think that signing for TFC, that is not only a huge signing, but it's a huge injection in terms of the fact that they could be competitive as sooner than what we thought. They might be able to get themselves out of this rebuild quicker than we have, and Mihailovic is definitely a huge beacon of light. So yeah, that made it 3-0 in favor of TFC. Really, 3-0. I mean, at this point, I'm just thinking, is Orlando going to show up eventually? Because this is ugly to see. And keep in mind, this is a Toronto team that doesn't score a lot of goals. Like they have gone a long spell of play where they score no more than 2 goals. The only time I remember they score more than 2 goals, or 3 goals that is, was that 6-1 thrashing that they had against Montreal. So this was shocking to see. And though it's shocking, but also not at the same time because it just feels like you're watching an absolute car crash, and also just an absolute free fall that Orlando City is suffering heading into the playoffs. Johnson would then deny Maguire from close, but in the 54th minute, Orlando did get one back as Brekalo would score from Paslich to make it 3-1 in favor of TFC. Johnson would then deny Ojeda from close range. Momentum seems like it's back with Orlando. Look like they might make it a game again. But then in the 61st minute, just like what we saw in the first half, Toronto scored against the run of play. It's DeAndre Kerr. He scored from Etienne Jr. and Mihailovic to make it 4-1 in favor of Toronto. Osorio then tried to make it 5-1, but he was denied by Galese. And then Johnson on the other end denied Ojeda from close range. Johnson is at it again in this one. I mean, besides the one goal he conceded, he was once again on his game. And again, another beacon light for this TFC side. If Johnson can continue this kind of run of form, TFC might have a shot heading into next season. Ojeda then missed wide from close before Spicer would hit it right to Johnson in the 85th minute. And then in the second minute of stoppage time, Duncan McGuire does score from Freeman to make it 4-2, but it was more of a consolation goal of what just was an absolutely embarrassing display by this Orlando City side. 4-2 is the final score of this one. The shots in this one, I mean, the stats might not tell you the fact that it was kind of an embarrassing result. The stats might say that Orlando was a little unlucky, and to be fair, they maybe were kind of with the way that Johnson was on his game. I mean, they had 31 shots for the 12 that Toronto had, 6 shots on goal for the 10 that Orlando has, 7 shots off target for the 2 that Toronto has, 4 shots off block for the 12 that Orlando City has. So it was really a block party for Toronto in this one. But the possession, 56% possession compared to 44 for Toronto in this one. And again, I know the stats, of course, favored Orlando, and I know the XG heavily favored Orlando in this one as well. But again, once again, just like this game, when you're not clinical in terms of your finishing, that of course can happen. But the fact that you give up 4 goals, Toronto, a team that is not known for their goal scoring, has barely scored more than 2 goals for most of the game. I mean, I can't see this team go far. I mean, I would not be surprised if they might even be eliminated in the game against Chicago, because now they're down to the 9th seed. They have to go on the road. I mean, I don't think any Orlando City fans would want to give this team any hope. I mean, this team look like they're just dead man walking heading into the playoffs with how much of a free fall that they've been going through heading into the playoffs. Now, moving on in terms of the next match. Speaking of Chicago, so this is going to be the team that will face Orlando at in this one. Now, I will say that as much as I know there's a lot of doom and gloom for this Orlando City side, the maybe just the slim glim of hope is the fact that they are a little bit better on the road this season. I mean, this game doesn't really tell us the story, but for the most part, they actually have been better on the road compared to them playing at home. And Chicago has kind of not been a team that's been good at home this season, although it's gone better lately as well. So that being said, this game was just crazy between New England and Chicago, especially late in this one. This felt like a decision day after dark. What we saw in this one, the fact that yeah, Chicago was going for it late in this one, and they had to because they won this one, they would have actually got themselves out of the playing round. But yeah, we kind of saw a certified fire moment and then an uncertified fire moment in this game as well. So early on, just 1 minute into this game, just 40 seconds into this game, Yusuf would score to make it 1-0 in favor of New England. So just a nightmare start for Chicago in this one. But yeah, New England again, even though they have nothing to play for, they were definitely playing for pride in this one. And then Yusuf would look to just get another, but he puts it over. No doubt the Revs started the better side, trying to play the spoiler and putting Chicago in the play-in round. Campana would then miss an absolute sitter from close in the 17th minute. But we go for a period where not much really happened. Gutman would puts it wide from close before Hughes would head it wide from close in the 39th minute. But we do head to halftime with New England leading 1-0. Now in the second half, I think Greg Berhalter probably had some choice words with his team because yeah, Chicago didn't show up in this first half. Second half, much better though. Turner denied Zikanago from the corner before Bamba would hit one right to Turner in the 53rd minute. The Fire definitely started a bit better. Definitely make that right adjustment and looking to try to get the equalizer. Oriel would then puts it wide from long range before Gutman puts it wide from close in the 66th minute. New England kind of feel like they're in row heat mode. I mean, they were just bunker in, and anytime when you go row heat mode, even when you're playing at home, yeah, it usually doesn't go so well. Davila would then puts it wide from long range before Zikanago puts it wide from long range in the 77th minute. It's just unrelentless pressure from the Chicago Fire side. You just kind of had a feeling the dam was going to finally break, and it finally did in the 82nd minute. As Zikanago would score from Kuipers and Haile Selassie to make it 1-1 in this one. So kind of interesting the fact that Zikanago got the goal and Kuipers got the assist. It's usually the other way around this season. Turner then denied Gutierrez, but it was recycled, and Ziganago had a shot that was blocked away. Chicago, they were not satisfied with a point, and again, they shouldn't be because they need 3 points in this one to get themselves out of the play-in round. But in the 6 minute stoppage time, just completely against the run of play, something that I definitely did not expect to happen. Turgeman would score from Hio to make it 2-1 in favor of New England, and you mean, well, yep, that feels like a very certified fire moment. I mean, as good as this season has been, and as much as they finally end the curse of missing out on the playoffs, we still see certified fire moment before, where we've seen this before with the Chicago Fire, where they dominate on the road, look by far the better team, but then just make one boneheaded mistake or just switch off for one second, and next thing you know, they concede a goal against the run of play. Well, you know what we also seen this season for the Chicago Fire? Some certified fire moments. Some moments that you don't usually see from past fire team, and some moments that this season the curse seems like it's been lifted because Chicago would get the equalizer. And guess what? Turgeman, the one that scored the second goal that looked like got all 3 points for New England. Well, he was so happy to kind of give that goal right back to the Chicago Fire with an own goal. Now, to be fair, it was actually originally credited to Waterman, but looks like that shot wasn't actually on target. It deflected off the Turgeman, who pretty much had know nothing about. But yeah, I mean, I want to congratulate Turgeman in terms of scoring probably the fastest yay mark I ever seen. It's probably the fastest own goal and then scoring a goal on the other end ever. Or should I say the Jack Elliott? Even though technically Elliott scored the hat trick and that one a defender hat trick that is scoring 2 goals and one own goal as well. But nevertheless, despite they got the late equalizer, it wasn't enough for Chicago to get themselves out of the playing round. They kind of had to win in this game, especially with other resort not going in their favor, even with this draw. So yeah, they of course will host the playing round against Orlando on Wednesday. The shots in this one: 16 shots for the 8 that New England has, 4 shots on goal for the 5 that Chicago had, 7 shots off target for the 3 that New England has, 4 shots on blocked for the 1 that New England has, and possession wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that New England has in this game. That being said, I am now going to switch board and look at the last 4 games that we see here in the Decision Day matchup involving the Eastern Conference. So now moving on, we got Columbus versus the New York Red Bulls, and I gotta say, the Columbus a couple of weeks ago, I kind of written them off because of the free fall that they've been going through, and also battling with just so many injury. But now I feel like I'm not gonna write them off just yet, especially the fact that they are getting much healthy, especially on the attack. They are definitely getting a couple of key attacking player back in this team. Their defense is still kind of a little bit wrecked, though. I've heard that they recently got Zwatsky back in this team, which that is a huge addition back from the IR from this Columbus team. He is a very important defensive piece for this crew team. So maybe there is hope, and especially after this win, and we'll talk about in just a bit of who they will face in the first round of the playoffs. There is hope. The fact that Wilfred Nancy's sign might surprise everyone, and also I would like to kind of apologize to Wilfred Nancy in general. The fact that I should have never written Wilfred Nancy team off. You just cannot write them off, even if they are going for a bad stretch. But in the first half, it actually didn't start well for Columbus, as the Red Bulls actually gets the opening goal. It's Choupo-Moting. He scored from Frostburg to make it 1-0 in favor of the Red Bulls. It was also the first shot of the game as well. So there's been a couple of games in this decision day where there was first shot of the game. And again, there was a lot of goals in the first 15 minutes in some of these decision day game, and this was another one of them. In fact, we saw two goals inside the first 16 minute, because in the 16 minute, Andres Herrera would score from Lapinainen and Arfston to tie the game up at one apiece. So yeah, that lead for the Red Bulls didn't last long. I feel like if you're a Red Bulls fan, you kind of feel like that was too good to be true. Consider how bad they've been this season on the road, and yeah, it was too good to be true. That they quickly evaporated just 5 minutes later. Picker then looked for another, but he was denied by McCarthy. McCarthy actually gets the start in this one. I think this is the first start that he has with his former team, and yeah, let's just say he did not had a great game in this one. Schulte then denied Frostberg from close before Lapinainen puts it wide from close range. Yenger then missed wide from close in the 28th minute. Both of these teams were exchanging some chances, but who can get that next goal? Herrera tried to do so, but he puts it wide from close before Pickard was in on goal there, and he tried to chip that one over McCarthy, but puts this one over. There was no doubt that Columbus had all the momentum up to this point. They were pressing hard to try to get the lead for the first time, but we do head to halftime with the score tied up at one apiece. In the second half, Russell Rowe would hits it right to McCarthy in the 49th minute before he denied Russell Rowe from close in the 52nd minute. Columbus kind of picked up where they left off, continued to press for the lead. Gastag would then hits it right to McCarthy, but then in the 66th minute, Gastag would score. So things have kind of turned around for this Crew team when Daniel Gastag has started to score goal, and that's going to be a player that they really hope that can get things going, because yeah, it hasn't really worked well for him ever since signing for the Black and Gold from the Union. But he scored here from Harbone and Arpston to make it 2-1 in favor of Columbus. We then go for a period where not much happening, as Columbus feel like they're just kind of riding themselves to a big win in this one. And most importantly, with Other Resort, they would actually get themselves out of the play-in round because of Other Resort that goes around them, and obviously the Red Bulls. It feels like they're in see you next season mode late in this one. And in the 84th minute, it pretty much confirmed Columbus getting the win, as Aliu would score the goal here to make it 3-1. Absolute gift there from John McCarthy. I mean, he just played it right into Aliu, who said thank you very much. I mean, I've been pretty snake bitten this season, but I'll take that and bury that one to make it 3-1 in favor of Columbus. That would be the final score of this game. Shots in this one: 13 shots for the 6 that the Red Bulls had, 3 shots on goal for the 6 that Columbus had, 3 shots off target for the 2 that the New York Red Bulls had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 4 that Columbus had, and possession-wise, Columbus had more than possession, 56 compared to 44% that the Red Bulls has in this game. And as I said, with this win, not only they get themselves out of the playing round, but guess who they're going to be playing in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoff? Yeah, that's right. It's that team a little north of them, 100 mile, or actually not north. I'm sorry, but south of them. That is, if you go north, you actually hit Cleveland. That is, and I'm pretty sure Crew fan don't need to remind it how that experience was not great when they faced against Inter Miami earlier this season. But yeah, they will travel down 100 miles south, and they get to face FC Cincinnati. The Hell is Real Derby is going to happen in the first round of the playoffs. And you know how I said I'm very excited about Nashville and Miami, and I'm still am. I will say that the Hell is Real Derby is going to be right up there, because for a fact that yeah, Cincinnati probably haven't forgot about that Eastern Conference Final loss. Columbus probably haven't forgot it either, and how they would love nothing more to once again lure over their Ohio in-state rival once again. And in many ways, I feel like with Columbus, when you look at who they face in the first round, probably the best matchup I could say heading into the first round, it's got to be Cincinnati, because they have had some good history against Cincinnati recently, and especially in big games like that, they've been able to get the win against Cincinnati. So this is why, again, I'm thinking that I'm not going to write them off just yet. And with the way that now they're starting to get healthy again, yeah, this is a team that I think could be back in the conversation of maybe getting themselves in a deep playoff run, when I don't think a lot of people expected just a couple of months ago. I don't think even Crew fan were expecting that's going to be the case a couple of months ago. Now, moving on in terms of the next match, so the only interconference matchup, because again, because there's 15 teams in each conference. There's got to be one games as an interconference matchup to balance things out, and this, of course, is one of them between NYCFC versus the Seattle Sounders. And for the most part, NYCFC they had their moments in this one, but again, the story of this decision day, at least one of them, is not being clinical in front of goal, and it came costly. And that's kind of what happened in this one for NYCFC. They weren't being clinical in front of goal, and it come back to haunt them. But in the first half, Wolf would then hit it wide from close, as that was the first shot of the game. Not much really happened, at least in the beginning. The shots were two apiece 20 minutes in. So while we did had some game that a lot happened in the first 15 minutes, there were some games that were kind of a little slow and kind of had a feeling out period. This was definitely one of them. But around this point as well, around the 20th minute, yeah, you just hate to see this. I mean, De La Vega, I've talked about before how he's just been absolutely snake bitten with injury. I mean, he is probably one of the most snake bitten player when it comes to injury, and it happened again. Him getting subbed off with a knee injury, and it did not look pretty. He had to be stretcher off because of it. Rothrock does replace him, but yeah, this is just really sad to see. I mean, Pedro De La Vega, when he's healthy, he's definitely among one of the most exciting players to see. But when he's healthy, it's definitely been a huge quotation mark because he just have not been healthy. I mean, and we kind of knew this was going to happen too when the Sounders did sign him before. They knew about his injury concern. Obviously, they hoped that it wasn't going to flare up, and unfortunately, it's been flaring up, and this is getting to a point where, it will with how he of course got subbed off, it's almost going to be a miracle the fact that he'll be available in that first round matchup against Minnesota, and that is a huge loss for the Sounders team because what he can do when he's healthy, he's a difference maker for this team, especially this season. But unfortunately, he hasn't been healthy very often, and it's another major setback as well. But in the 25th minute, no penalty was given to the Sounders after they deemed that Martin did not foul Morris in the box, and it was the right call. I mean, there was not enough contact. I think that should have been called back, and yeah, so that kind of is add insult to injury. The fact that Seattle thought that they got themselves a penalty, only for that to be taken away from VAR. We then go for another period where not much really happened. Fry then denied Hack as that took a off a deflection, but we do head to halftime with the game scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Wolf would miss high from long range before Kosi Arienzi hits it right to Fry. There was a couple of half chances for both of these teams, but the question is, who can get that opener? The answer is the Seattle Sounders, as Morris would score from Rusnak to give the Sounders a 1-0 lead. Martins did look to answer, but he hits it right to Fry before O'Toole would hit it right to Fry off of a deflection. Markel would then hits it right to Fry from there from the near post. And again, NYCFC, they're getting the chances, but most of these are pretty easy save from Stephen Fry. Ferreira would then hits it right to Freeze in the 76th minute, but then in the 82nd minute, NYCFC finally make that pressure pay as Nico Fernandez Markel would score from Fernandez and Carrizo to tie the game up at one apiece. That equalizer quickly was short-lived because just a couple of minutes later, Jackson Reagan would score from oh god, I think I got the wrong name here. I put did I put Larea here? Even though there is no Larea in the sentence. See, this is what happened when you write the notes relatively quick. You kind of put the wrong thing on the board. So let me just quickly look up here on my notes on my phone that I have. Where is the game? There it is. Um, yeah, it's actually Rusnak, the one that scores to get the assist here. And again, it was a rare set piece goal as well because the Sounders they don't usually score a lot of goal off the set pieces, but here it paid off, and just like that, they lead it again, and that lead would withstand as they win 2-1 in this one. The shots in this one, 16 shots for the 8 the Sounders had, 4 shots on goal for the 5 that NYCFC had. Both team had, or no, 4 shots off target for the none that the Sounders had. 4 shots that was blocked for the 5 that NYCFC had. And possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession the Sounders has in this game. So, yeah, with this loss, NYCFC missed out on getting home field advantage. They wouldn't have got it either way, even if they won this one, because, again, as I mentioned, Charlotte got the win, and as long as Charlotte gets the win, they won't get that home field advantage. But, yeah, this is definitely not the resort that Pascal Janssen would want to see. And again, I'm not surprised that is the case because again, this season, what is just so bizarre with this NYCFC team is that when they do face against a much weaker team, and I'm not saying Seattle is a weak team whatsoever, but Seattle wasn't really in full stream in this one. But for whatever reason, in games that they were expected to win, especially at home against a more lightly opponent, they lose. But when they do face against some of the best team in the East, they win. So I guess that's kind of concerning, but also not, because in the playoffs you do face against some of the better teams. So maybe that kind of goes in hand for NYCFC. But it's still kind of frustrating because you could have had home field advantage if you would have won those games against teams that you absolutely should have beat. And they didn't. Now, moving on into the next game. So, as I mentioned, with Charlotte winning this one, this pretty much locked them down in terms of getting home field advantage, at least in the first round. But they had to withstand a lot of pressure that the Union put in this one. The Union definitely put a lot of pressure. They actually didn't rest a lot of guys in this one. They played mostly their starters, but this is just another one of those games where the team that were more clinical in front of goal wins the game. The team that weren't clinical in front of goal ends up on the losing end. Now, in the first half, Bedoya would flash it wide after just 46 seconds before Bronico hits the sign netting, which some fans thought that one went in. It did not, of course. I mean, depending on where you were sitting, I can understand why some fans feel like that went in because of the illusion. But after a fast start to this game, the thing did kind of start tightening up a little bit. Not much chances really created after that. Vargas would put it wide from close in the 23rd minute, but then in the 29th minute, Wilfred Zaha would strike. So he scored from Vargas and Malanda to give Charlotte a 1-0 lead. Bedoya did look to answer, but he was absolutely raw by Kalina. Kalina, once again, big in this one, as it's been the case for the second half of the season. But this one actually was still goal bound, by the way, and Malanda was able to clear that one off the line. So what a clearance that was from Charlotte, and what a big moment that was too, because just 2 minutes after this goal was scored, in the 29th minute, Carvin Vargas would score. So he scored from Toffolo to make it 2-0 in favor Charlotte. Just an absolute backbreaker for the Union. I mean, you were just inches away of getting the equalizer if it wasn't for the Malanda clearance off the line. And now all of a sudden, you find yourself 2-0 down in the last 60 minutes. And usually when you go down 2-0 against the Charlotte team, especially lately, they usually don't give up that lead, especially when they're playing at home. Diamante then looked for one back, but he hits it right to Kalina before Blake would deny Tokomati from close in the 37th minute. Danny John Jack then puts it wide from long range. We had some exchange of chances late in the half, but who can get that? Who can get that third or maybe get one back for the Union? The answer is no one. So we do head to halftime with Charlotte getting the 2-0 lead. In the second half, Iloski would puts it over from long range before Baribo would hits it right to Kalina in the 50th minute. Westwood then puts it wide from close, and then Blake on the also denied Tokomati from close, as once again it feels like we picked up where we left off in the first half. Both team exchanging some chances, both team trying to get this next goal. Diani would then hits it right to Blake in the 53rd minute before Diamani would hits it wide from the corner in the 61st. Kind of tricky to say from Diani to Diamani. Kind of a little bit of a tongue twister there. But Hario would then puts it over from long range. The Union definitely started to control this game, looking to press to get one back. Baribo would then hits it right to Kalina. Caven Sullivan would miss one from close, and then he hits it right to Kalina in the 85th minute. I don't really need to use the first initial of the Sullivan brother because, as we all know, Quinn Sullivan is done for the season because of a torn ACL. But there was no doubt that Charlotte, yeah, they were on row heap mode. They were trying to protect to try to get this win. Normally, that's not a good thing, but I guess it's kind of late in this one where they're just gonna try to ride out the win and get home field advantage in the first round. The post would deny Baribo there as he was trying to lob it over Kalina, and to be fair, Kalina got lucky there because he didn't get there first, and the post kind of saved him. And then in the 90th minute, we saw a red card in this moment. It was actually a second yellow from Wilfred Zaha, just a very silly second yellow from Wilfred Zaha. And this is the problem with Wilfred Zaha. As much as he is a very good player, he does at times become a little bit of a hothead and could be a little bit of a liability when it comes to controlling his composure and emotion. And here, just absolutely needless. I mean, you're already on a yellow card. I know Bueno kind of baited him there and kind of instigate that situation, but you cannot just decided to swing your arms like that. I mean, that is a definition of a yellow card at the minimum, and because he's already on a yellow, that's a sending off, and now he's not available in that first game against NYCFC in the first round. That is a huge loss for the Charlotte team, especially of how good Zaha has been. Kalina then denied Baribo from close, and yeah, in the end, Charlotte does get the 2-0 win. The shots in this one, 24 shots for the 8 that Charlotte has, but the shots on goal was pretty even. 5 shots on goal for the 6 that the Union has, 11 shots off target for the 3 that Charlotte has, no shots that was blocked for the 5 the Union has, and possession wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that Charlotte has in this game. The winner, of course, for the Union, or the winner of the Orlando and Chicago game will be the team that the Union will play in the first round. Charlotte, of course, will be playing against NYCFC in the first round as well. Oh, by the way, I forgot to even mention Seattle is going to be playing against Minnesota. I'll talk about it again when I talk about the Loons play against the Galaxy in my Western Conference version of the Decision Day review. But yeah, for the Union, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're hoping Orlando might be the team that they get because yeah, I think if you're a Union fan, you definitely will want to take Orlando. Consider Chicago has been pretty good this season, not only on the road but also they have that definitely has the firepower to keep up with the Union. But at the same time, this is going to be a very frustrating game for Bradley Cardinal. The fact that they actually played pretty well in this one, but they just couldn't put away the chances. And for Charlotte, yes, you get home field advantage, but NYCFC is definitely not an opponent that I think Charlotte would kind of want to face because again, NYCFC has been able to do well lately against good opponent. And again, the Zaha red card that is just again that's going to be really costly for the Charlotte team of him missing that one because he's just such a big influencer on the attack and again just a kneeless one like that's just kind of the thing you unfortunately you have to deal with Zaha where while he's very good in terms of the technical style he also has had his issue and when it comes to controlling his emotion at time and the emotion kind of got the best of him and could be costly for Charlotte heading into the playoffs. Now, last but not least, final game of this review of looking at the Eastern Conference on Decision Day is Cincinnati versus Montreal. And look at that. For once, Cincinnati able to have an easy win. I mean, that feels like it's unheard of because, we always see Cincinnati has like the Pat Nolan special of only winning one goal and stress their fans out to the end. But hey, for once, they kind of had to get to relax in this one, getting an easy 3-0 win. Though early on, not much really happened in the first 20 minutes. The shots were only one apiece. In fact, the third shot didn't came until the 32nd minute when Julia denied Brenner from close. But in the 33rd minute, on the ensuing corner, Hagelin would score. So he scored from Evander to make it 1-0 in favor of Cincinnati. Brenner did look for another, but he heads this one wide. And then in the 37th minute, Kamara would put it said why after Neil he is very lucky the fact that Kamara didn't bury it. He just kind of gift wrapped that him there in terms of the playing right to the path of Kai Kamara, and yeah, Kai Kamara would want to have that one back badly. But there was no doubt that Cincinnati has all the momentum. They were pressing to get the second goal. Celentano then denying Craig as that was Montreal first shot in the second minute of stoppage time, and then they got a penalty as Hagelin brought down Owusu in the box. So Hagelin kind of on the wrong end of the moment here, kind of went from hero to zero in that moment, bringing down Owusu, but fortunate for him, Owusu didn't bury it as he struck the post from the spot there. Yeah, Owusu usually a very short spot in terms of the penalty spot. That is definitely one that he would want to have back. But nevertheless, we do head to halftime with Cincinnati leading 1-0. In the second half, Gilia denied Kubo from close, but then in the 56th minute, Evander would score. So he scored from Hagelin to make it 2-0. So kind of interesting the fact that in the first half it was Hagelin the one that scored from Evander, and now it's kind of the opposite way. But yeah, that was just not great defending from Montreal. And honestly, they kind of asked to get score on by Evander. Just no closing down whatsoever. You cannot leave Evander, who is literally the best long range sniper goal scorer in this league, that much space and not get burned. And yeah, just like that, it was 2-0 in favor of Cincinnati. Jaime did look to respond, but he was denied by Saratano in the 73rd minute before Gilia denied Anungu from close in the 85th minute. But then in the 88th minute, Brenner would score. So he scored from Valenzuela to make it 3-0. He then tried to make it 4-0, trying to score another, but was denied by Gilia in the fourth minute of stoppage time. But yeah, in the end, like I said, this doesn't happen for Cincinnati fans, but they get a multi-goal win, get a relaxing 3-0 win against Montreal. The shots in this one, 12 shots for the 10 that Montreal has, 3 shots on goal for the 7 that Cincinnati has, 2 shots off target for the 3 that Cincinnati has. Both teams had 2 shots as block, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that Montreal has in this game. So, the good news is that Cincinnati get a pretty comfortable wins to get some momentum heading into the playoffs. The bad news is they have to face against Columbus. That is probably the worst possible first round matchup they can get, mainly because the fact that, as I mentioned before, Columbus they have had Cincinnati's number when it comes to some of this big game, especially what we saw in the Eastern Conference Final. But then again, you can also say that maybe that might be a team that Cincinnati would want to have, because again, they may be trying to exercise some of that demon and trying to get some revenge from what happened in the Eastern Conference Final a couple years ago. But ideally, if you ask any Cincinnati fan, I mean, they maybe eventually will bump into Columbus somewhere, but just not in the first round. I think that might not be a great matchup. You usually, when it comes to first round matchup, especially when you're high up in the standings, you want to get an easy team to kind of start off, and then you kind of build that momentum as you get to some of the tougher teams. And well, on paper, Columbus doesn't seem like a tough team when you look at their record. The way that Columbus is getting more healthy, especially on the attacking end, and the fact that it's a rivalry game, so anything can happen, it just feels like that's not a great matchup for Cincinnati. It kind of reminds me of when St. Louis, of course, got Sporting KC in the first round of the playoffs, where I didn't think that was a great matchup for St. Louis. You don't want to really face your rival in the first round of the playoffs, especially when you're the higher seed. And this feels like it's kind of the same thing for Cincinnati, despite the fact that this is a team that legitimately could be one of the contender for MLS Cup, and one of the team that could be out of the East. And representing the Eastern Conference in MLS Cup by the end of this playoffs. But there you have it. That is pretty much it. Looking at all of the games that happen on decision day, at least in the Eastern Conference, that is. In just a bit, I'll basically erase the board and erase also the other board to put up the Western Conference game, and I also have to do the preview as well for those card games relatively soon. I have some videos that I have to do relatively quick, because again, because of the fact that I was so busy yesterday, I couldn't do anything and make video. I'm pretty much a little bit backlogged. And this is kind of like my makeup day in terms of trying to get as much content as possible for you guys before the playoffs begin. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.